Hello and welcome back to Floodlights Camera Action, but not quite as you know it. This is going to be the start of a new bonus series we're going to do. Me and Veronica talk a lot about our physical media collection, so our films we buy and the records we buy, and even the books we buy sometimes, because believe it or not, we can read. So we thought we'd start a little series on YouTube, maybe once a week or so, going through specific collections of ours, starting with our vinyl collection. So first segment will be mine, and then we'll cut to Veronica. So we'll start this be quite quick fire, quite loose, quite unscripted. First up, we'll do the singles. I will say, ignore the fact that most of them are in paper casings. I'm cheap and skint and a student, and one day they will be upgraded to nice plastic wallets or whatever. But unfortunately, today is not that day. But starting off, we have got uh, Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie. I got that after I saw After Sun for the first time, and I thought, oh, could do a bit of Heartbreak again. I'll hear that on a consistent basis. Why not? Next up is Killer Queen by, well, Queen. A song I love. I think it's quite an underrated song. Um, Again, I think I brought that a couple of years ago. Next up is, I think the first ever record I got for Christmas when I got the record player was it's reverse, so you probably won't be able to see it. But Careless Whisper by George Michael, again, a great song. What is next? David Bowie again. And it is Fame by David Bowie in a nice little blue wallet with RCA written on it. How lovely. One I brought recently is A Hero's Death by Fontaines DC with I Don't Belong. I love Fontaines DC, as you'll see in a minute, but that record isn't one of my favourites. It's probably my least favourite of their records. I'm trying to get into it a bit more, so I thought I'd buy the single, which was a good value. And next up, the last single I've got is An Innocent Man by Billy Joel. Lovely stuff. Now let's get on to the big boys. I got this one recently. It is the Freewheeling Bob Dylan. I love this record. Well, I love half of it. I think the first half is immaculate. The second half I don't love as much, but it does have one of my favourite Bob Dylan songs on it, which I believe is a cover actually, which is Karina Karina. I think it's a beautiful song. I got this with it, little magazine. That's nice. And I may as well chuck this in here as well. Uh, in HMV before Complete Unknown came out, they're giving away these free copies of Enemy, the limited edition, special edition version of Enemy for Complete Unknown. That's lovely, lovely. I'll drop that. What is next? It's another Bob Dylan record. This one is Saved. This is when he went all religious and a bit weird. I got that one from a local vinyl store to me called A Slice of Vinyl in Gosport. Very good place. Good vibe, good people. I also got the next record there. See, smooth. It is Greatest Hits by Joan Baez. Joan Baez, one of the great icons of folk music, one of the most beautiful voices of all time. There's a lot of covers in that one, and so many stunning ones. Such as The Night That Drove Old Dixie Down. I think it ain't. Oh no, yeah. Baby Blue is in there again. Obviously a Bob Dylan song, but one that was covered by Joan. And next up is the Essential Bob Dylan. I got this one for Christmas because my parents know I love Bob Dylan. There's a theme here. There's so many great songs in this one, but I mean, one standout is Positively Fourth Street, which I believe wasn't in a studio album, wasn't in an album, sorry, until they released that record, which is a great one, and it's quite interesting. So I love Bob Dylan, but I love him kind of from early '60s to late '70s. I don't really delve much into the later stuff, and that record is very much chronological and in timeline order. So my interest in the album fades as it goes on. But the first three sides are delightful. Next up is the La La Land soundtrack by Justin Hurwitz. Mine and Veronica is one of our favorite films. I think it might be Veronica's favorite film of all time. Mine's not quite that level, but a perfect film, a beautiful film, and a beautiful soundtrack. Next up is a classic. Yeah, that's one. It is OK Computer by Radiohead. My favorite song being Let Down, as was used in uh, the end of season one of The Bear, I believe. I think it was season one anyway. Next up is actually one of the most underappreciated albums of this certain band. It is Angles by The Strokes. I love The Strokes, always have done, always will do. Um, I think they released some of the best records of all time. This isn't one of the best records of all time, but it is quite underrated. Songs like Machu Picchu, Under the Cover of Darkness, Taken for a Fool, Gratisfaction, Life is Simple in the Moonlight. That is a good record, and it's a little confused, and there are issues in production, but ultimately a very good piece of music. Next up, another Strokes album, Room on Fire, which I actually think is potentially better than their debut. It's just it's a continuation, but I think it's better in certain elements. I think Under Control is one of the most heartbreaking songs ever written. I spent a lot of time listening to it after a recent breakup because it kind of struck a chord with me, so to speak. But let's move on from sad stuff. It's another Strokes album. I got it very recently. The New Abnormal, I believe, one of the best records ever made. I think every song in here is spectacular, and I think Ode to the Mets is probably one of the best songs ever written. I'm a big Strokes guy. Talking of big guy, it's not going to flow that. It's why I used to write out my links on the podcast between between bits, but no, I don't because I got lazy. It is Dog Rule by Fontaines DC. This is Fontaines DC's first album. I got there in the end. This is not their best album, but it is probably it's tied for second place with Skinty Fear. Songs like Big, Too Real, television screens is one I'm come to appreciate a lot more. Checkers Reckless, Liberty Bell, Boys in the Bear Land, and then two really underrated songs. I think some of the best songs in their discography, to be honest. Roy's Tune and Dublin City Sky, I think are just incredible, especially Roy's Tune. Um, fun fact about Fontaines DC, not a fact, it's just story and anecdote, if you will. I I first discovered Fontaines DC when they were on Soccer AM. It's very unprofessional drinking tea on the podcast, but I don't give a shit. When they were on Soccer AM, maybe 2019, and they did, I think it's Boys in the Badland they did, and I've loved them ever since. Next up is a record I've had for over a year, but I've not opened. It's David Bowie, Best of Live. I love David Bowie, but I've just not listened to this for whatever reason. But it's got songs like Space Odyssey, Starman, Rebel Rebel, Fame, as we discussed earlier, Heroes, Let's Dance. No China Girl. Slightly disappointing. I love China Girl. Rest in peace, David Bowie. What is next? What is next on the list? It is ABBA Gold. I love ABBA. Um, I love when I rarely go clubbing. I love dancing to ABBA. ABBA are a vibe. There's a lot of good songs on here. Google it if you care. I'm not going to talk through them all. I get paid for this. I just get, I just rock up. I look handsome. I talk about briefly about the record. I'm not going through the entire track list. God, who do you think I am? Next up is The Car by Arctic Monkeys. Potentially the Arctic Monkeys' worst album, but by no means a bad album. I just think it's kind of, I don't know, it's not got much of a personality, so to speak. But I think there are some good songs on there. I think side one is really good. So you got There Better Be a Miracle, I Ain't Quite Where I Think I Am, Sculptures, Anything Goes, Jet Skis on a Moat, and Body Paint. I think as a 5 song run, that's a really good run. And then it kind of fades in the second half with things like The Car and Mr. Schwartz, which I think are probably some of the worst songs they've ever written. But still, some good stuff in here. Um, Although controversially, my favourite record of Arctic Monkeys is probably Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino because I'm a hipster. Next up is another classic. It's The Stranger by Billy Joel. Favorite track on this song is Moving Out, brackets Anthony song. First time I heard that song, we were when I was a kid. I know I look youthful, but I'm not a child anymore. It was we drove back from south of France. We used to drive to south of France quite a lot on summer holidays, and we drove back, and I woke up at about 2 a.m. I reckon, and we were about 15 minutes from home, and all I could hear was the intro to the chorus on that song, and it's so aggressive and but yeah, great record. Songs like Vienna are incredibly moving. Absolutely bloody beautiful. Next up, another classic is Rumours by Fleetwood Mac. Annoyingly, the printing of the record goes a bit wobbly, which is slightly annoying. Gold Dust Woman, very, very good song. I mean, it's full of good songs, but it's probably my favourite. Next up is Elvis, 30 number one hits. I'm not actually a huge Elvis fan anymore, but I didn't even like the film, but I got this after the film because I wanted to listen to my Elvis. Um, Marie's a Name, his latest Flame, good song. There's a lot of good songs in there because it's Elvis and they're always number ones. So there's something for everyone. Next up, we're coming to the end. Come towards the end now. Is Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry. I brought this record after John Messino was appointed as Portsmouth manager because there is a my chair. Basically, the thing about this chair is it keeps sinking all the time, so I had to like look like a hobbit by the end of it. I got this record because there was a video of John Messino when he was younger doing a sing along to Johnny Be Good, and I couldn't get a single, so I got the entire record. I never listened to this, but I do own it. We come towards the end now. We've got three more. I'm going to use two hands for this one. It is where are we? Channel Orange by Frank Ocean. This was a ball ache to source, and it's a bit skippy. It's not a great printing, but maybe it's my shitty record player. I've got one of the suitcase ones that's a bit crap, but look how pretty it is. Oh, look at that. I love this album. I love Frank Ocean. I wish he'd release new music. Some favourites: Pyramids, Sweet Life, Crack Rock, Monks, New Religion, something about religion, Bad Religion, and Lost. Fun story about Lost. Well, not fun story, sad story if anything. Lost was one of my ex-girlfriends. Our song. I won't give the context of why it's our song because that's a private detail. But that was our song. So now I can't really listen to it because it makes me sad. Next up is Blonde by Frank Ocean. See, I own multiple Frank Ocean records. Again, this is a powerhouse of a record. Songs like Solo, White Ferrari, Self Control, Nikes. And then I don't know if the camera will do it justice. This is a luminous green. It's not really showing it. But this is a luminous. It looks like piss yellow now. This is a luminous green. Absolutely stunning. Rarely play it because again, it's a bit skippy. It's not great printing. But sometimes in life you just got to get on with it and you just got to love it, even if it's a bit broken. God, we're approaching 12 minutes, 13 minutes on this segment alone. What is next, Jack? What is next, you hear? Romance. This is the last one I've got. It's Romance by Fontaine's DC. Came out last year. Best record of the year last year, tied with GNX by Kendrick Lamar. Songs like Bug, Death Kink, Favorite. Just so many powerhouse songs. Great to listen to. I listen to it all the time. And thus concludes my record collection. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't actually have to outro this properly because Veronika has already sent me the footage and there is a proper outro. So see you soon on the podcast. Hope you enjoyed the update. Apologies for drinking tea and not scripting it. I'm shooting from the hip. Enjoy Veronika's record roundup.
This is part 2. This is my section of the video. The section that everyone's been waiting for after Jack has warmed up the audience to being bored by vinyls. Anyway, my first vinyl that I'm showing is Olivia Rodrigo's sophomore album, Guts. I think it's maybe better than her first album. I like the extra songs that she added in the spilled version, but I don't have that one because it was more expensive. Okay? I'm not very rich. The next album is Chappell Roan's Rise and Fall Midwest Princess or whatever. And I think, you know what, I was confused about her becoming really big really quickly at first, but then I actually listened to the music and you know what, fair enough. She is pretty damn good at making music. So she proved me wrong. Maybe Paul Mescal can do that one day with his acting. Speaking of acting, I got this small trading card with Josh O'Connor on it with the next vinyl, which is the Challenges soundtrack. It was robbed of an Oscar award, never mind a nomination. It's disgraceful and disgusting and embarrassing and pathetic that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross were not nominated, at least. And yeah, it's a really good soundtrack. I think that those two, alongside Justin Hurwitz, are the best composers working in film right now. That is just my opinion. And the next vinyl is the original Brat vinyl. So I did recommend some songs from the original Brat album that are not remixes, maybe songs that some people haven't listened to before. And at the HMV they had this exclusive pink black splatter version, which I bought because you know what, it looks quite cool. My last kind of big, I guess, proper album is my first album on vinyl, which is Kissland by The Weeknd. The Weeknd is my favourite artist, probably, so I will be getting all of his albums on vinyl at some point, and this is one of his first. It's great, but it's also quite different. The songs are quite long, so I'd say the best way of listening to it is probably laying down on the floor in your room at 2 a.m., putting some headphones on and closing your eyes and imagining you're in a place with a lot of vices, I'd say. I'm trying not to say anything bad. Anyway, the last album I'm showing is Call Me If You Get Lost, the estate sale with the extra songs by Tyler the Creator, who I'm a big fan of. I've recommended 2 songs from this kind of I guess bonus track list, and then one from the original. I think that Chromacopia is one of the best albums from last year, and I hope to get that on vinyl pretty soon. And then the last vinyl I have is a small one. It's like, I don't know how many inches, like 6 maybe. I don't know what this one's, maybe 7, I don't know. But it's the Idol soundtrack mini vinyl with only 2 songs, but I did recommend a few from the Idol soundtrack that aren't on this vinyl, because even though the show was maybe not the best, the songs from it are really good. And again, it's The Weeknd, it's Lily Rose Depp on it as well, and Jenny. So I recommend going to listen to it, even if you don't watch the show, which I haven't watched the show because I don't want to. Listen to the music because it's pretty good. And yeah, that's it from me.